Hello, and thank you for having me. As mentioned, I am Dr. SwanS from the Department of Anesthesia and Intensive Care from the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation, and I'll be offering a few insights from Guyana on education in the time of COVID-19. So, a quick background. Here we have a 4-year residency program in anesthesia and intensive care. This is a relatively young program in that this was only started in 2013. We have 6 graduates today, and we were fortunate enough to have a collaboration with a Pasay University through CASIEX, and as such, we now have both local and visiting staff from the US and Canada. And there is also a 4-month elective period that is done in Canada, usually at McMaster University in Hamilton or at Sudbury, and these mainly focus on areas such as cardiac, thoracic, neuro anesthesia, and also some general anesthesia. So, as residents, we were of course greatly affected. We were in our final stages of preparing for exams. These dates eventually were adjusted, they were pushed back. However, there was immense psychological stress from the pandemic, and this, of course, came from working with COVID patients, possibly COVID positive patients, and of course, our concern for our families' safety. We found that it was really near impossible to continue focusing on our study as before, and even our in-house teaching proved difficult. So some of these were converted to virtual sessions. In other cases um, where the sessions would have continued, um, it was again, I would say the hardest part was to just focus on what was being taught or what we had to read. There was limited day-to-day interaction with faculty and colleagues, given that now the main focus was to limit contact and time spent in the operating rooms. So as the weeks passed, we gradually adjusted to COVID-19 amongst us. Of course, for us residents, we had our pending exams that was ever present in our minds, and I would say that this required a real greater will and personal resolve to remain focused and on track. Fortunately, we had quite a few Zoom and Skype sessions, and these were done, of course, with our local and our overseas volunteers. These were mainly focused on exam prep, such as oral questions and answers. Needless to say, there were quite a few technical challenges that were daily occurrences, be it the speed of the internet, dropped calls, maybe even a few blackouts in between. So these were not new to us. Again, these sessions were done from our homes. Many of them were done from, you would say, the comfort of our homes, and this gave the advantage of some time flexibility and theoretically more time to study. However, this proved to be uh, a great balancing act with family, and for many of us who have young children at home from school, this also was pretty challenging. The rest of our exam preparations were pretty much self-study, and unfortunately, even for some, our study leave would have been interrupted, and this was due to the increased demand for anesthesia and intensive care services, especially in the newly established COVID ICU. So, in practice, many residents were required to work in a COVID ICU, and this continued right up until exam. Again, I must mention the mental and emotional toll for residents. And on the positive side, you can say that the ICU management skills for these residents who would have worked in the COVID unit. So those were improved. Some residents claim to have a greater understanding, a greater appreciation for their ICU practice. However, this came at a cost of time spent away from the operating rooms and from the focus on anesthesia care and learning. I must also mention that the elective period in Canada has been affected. So since the pandemic, no one has been able to travel. Um, we look forward to this resuming as soon as possible. And I am happy to say that all residents were successful in their final exams. However, many believe that their performance could have and would have been better had it not been for the pandemic. Overall, COVID-19 has significantly changed educational practices as we know it. The new norm is yet to be established. And we do look forward to working with all interested parties to ensure the best standards of learning and practice for our current and future anesthesiologists. So, what does a possible future look like in terms of education? And for us, specifically to our program, the one major question is whether or not persons will be able to travel. And if not, this would result in one of two major consequences. The first is that there will be a lack of our visiting volunteers. In general, they do offer an immense wealth of knowledge, experience, and different perspectives that contribute greatly to our practice here, not only for our residents but also to our local educators. So that would be severely effective. And even though they may be able to join us virtually, I would dare to say that it would not be the same as to them being physically present. Also, the second consequence is whether or not our residents will be able to travel to do their 4 month elective in Canada. Personally, and from what I know from the others who have been able to complete this stint, we have learned a lot. We were able to put a lot into practice from what we learned over there. And I do hope that our future residents, our current and future residents, will be able to benefit from this. Thank you. And this is a snap of some of the residents in the pre-COVID era during one of our regional anesthesia training. Thank you.